Hey, thanks for tuning on. This is Coach Jay, and again, we're here on Journey Junction as we're talking about different things that help us deal with our crossroads, our time we come to a place where we're trying to understand the best avenue to take to have a better outcome. And today we want to talk about the ostrich syndrome. That's right, ostrich syndrome. It's led to believe that ostrich syndrome comes from the belief that when an ostrich gets nervous or be afraid, they plunge their head down in the ground to not see or not deal with the issue that is above surface. Um, that's far from the truth. What happens is ostrich, when they have their eggs, they bury their eggs in the ground, and then what they do is they stick their head in to help turn the eggs. So that's something just for you to know. But the reason why I brought this about is because I want to look at the picture and the ideologies that have came about when they talk about the ostrich syndrome, to the very premise that they put their head in the ground to hide themselves from the situation that they may or may not want to face. Well, I lean more to may not, because of the fact that you're hiding your head or placing your head in a place you can't see anything above surface. So therefore, any issue that it would arise, you're not ready to address it. So therefore, you ignore it or try to hide yourself from it. Now, when we look at our life, and we can really look at how many opportunities when things begin to get difficult in your life, you begin to try to find an escape route, mean to hide and not deal with this issue until later on, or when you feel that you're up to it. So in other words, you're putting your head in the sand. You're blocking everything from forcing you to deal with that right now situation. And how is that done for you? How does that work for you? Because I believe it or not, it seems like the more you procrastinate or the more you push it off, the bigger the problem becomes. Now, I'm not saying that every problem comes your way, you're able to address it then, but you should begin to come up with a strategy or a plan on how to deal with this issue one way or another. By not dealing with it, you're putting more fire to it. And you remember I did a teaching on firefighting your issue, is that you put more fuel on it and it begins to grow. Something that may be simple or just takes a little bit more time or effort now is a full blown fire, and now you need help. You need more assistance. You need more resources to put that out when you could address it at the earliest phase. Well, I want to teach you today to not follow the path of the ostrich syndrome, where you're running away or hiding yourself away from addressing situations. We can both agree that there are situations in our life where we come to these crossroads where we have to make a decision, where we have no other choice but address the matter one way or another. And in that, it makes things difficult is because now we're going, and as I told y'all before in previous, we go into that survival mode where we're just taking the first impulse. We're taking whatever we think and just jumping in it just to get this problem up off of us. And sometimes it has a more negative reaction or results from it because we didn't think it out. We're so pressured, we're so pushed that we just go ahead and grab the first thing instead of having the time to research the situation, evaluate it, look at it from different perspectives, get information from other people, do some studying, look at your past record when you dealt with things, bring things from your memory banks and say, hey, you know what? I was in something similar like this. How do I address that? We won't do that when we're in survival mode because it's whatever helps us to get out of that situation. That's right, whatever's going to get us out of it. So some people just sit there and have meltdowns. They say, hey, you know what? I have anxiety because this is coming, or I go into a place of depression because we feel that we'll let ourselves down only because we didn't plan in the process. We have to learn how to plan to plan. I know that probably makes sense to most of you, but it does. You have to begin to plan and come to these different scenarios of how you will respond when these difficult decisions come about. How do you focus on a plan to how to generate or control your emotions when it seems like all hope is gone? How do you deal when you have a high day of pressure, stress is multiplying? How do you calm yourself down? People use yoga, people go and do jogging, do other different things to kind of get their mind in. Find that outlet. Find that way that you can step away from your situation when you can. Now, not all cases you're going to be able to step away, but when you can, try to do that, or at least have a plan to plan, meaning, okay, let's give some scenarios. What happens if A happens? Should I read that? And think about it before it comes up. Because one thing I know in life, things begin to rotate and they come back around full circle over and over and over again. It comes back to you, maybe in a different approach, maybe in a different form, but it comes back. It may not be the same exact principle of whatever you were dealing with, but it's something similar. And I believe you have enough data in your storage bank that you can remember how you reacted when this type of situation came up. And I want you to dial in on that. I want you to look at that and say, okay, I didn't handle this well, or I did handle it well. What do I do moving forward? How do I go to the next place with this? What do I do if? What are you doing? You're teaching yourself to plan, and in that, you're taking better control of the situation. You're taking better control of the atmosphere. You're not changing the situation, but how you address it is going to be helpful for you. You cannot practice the Ostrich Syndrome and keep burying your head deep into the sand so that you don't have to face your issue. Let me let y'all know something. The one thing you're going to see if you do practice that, once you pop your head out of that sand, that situation will still be there. So no matter how many times you plunge your head back and forth in the ground, you're still eventually going to have to face that. It's not just going to up and move away. It's not going to be something that you can ignore and it's just going to run, which leads me to another principle called willingness to ignore. That means you take all effort to try to push away whatever issue is because you're saying, I'm going to ignore this. I don't care what comes my way. I'm not going to address this. I'm just not going to do that. And some of us do that. And I believe it's a mechanism that we have adjusted to, because if we don't deal with it, we truly believe that we leave away. Like if you don't address an issue with a friend or something and they're getting on your nerves, eventually if you don't say nothing about it, you believe it'll go away and never be talked again. So, hey, we'll talk more about this. This is Coach Jay, and we'll have more conversation as we go forward. Take care of yourself. Remember, let's not practice the Ostrich Syndrome.